All right. Sergeant DeValley, welcome. Come on up. This desk here to the right. Make sure the green light is on, and that when you speak, that you just speak directly to the microphone so we can. So I want to welcome you, Sergeant, and thank you so much for pursuing your career here in the Holyoke Police Department, stepping it up into the role of lieutenant. What we're going to do is ask you a series of questions. We rate the questions, although there's not much weight. However, in civil service, you are tied with another candidate.
No, he's number.
Oh, he's not.
Yeah, the other guys are.
Never mind. You're the lucky one.
I'm the lucky one, yes.
So you know how civil servant works, right? Like it goes in the order of which, unless there's a reason to bypass. But we do these interviews openly, public, for transparency. Although the mayor has the direct appointing authority, we do this so that members of the public get to know the candidates. And also, it's great to hear openly like this in this setting how candidates answer the questions, because it really kind of shapes, the narrative, the direction we're trying to go, and also helps the candidate too. We're all trying to grow professionally in our respective fields, and we're always learning and growing. So, anywho, we're gonna go around and ask these questions. To my right, I have Kelly Curran. She's our personnel director. Captain Cruz. We also have a police relations advisory team, two that are here with us today, Kalana and former captain of the Holyoke Police Department, Captain Fletcher.
Samuel DeValley.
Samuel DeValley. So, you want to introduce the candidate?
Yes, we have Samuel Del Valle with us. He came on board in 2009. He was promoted to sergeant in February of 21. He's currently on a 4 to 12 professional standards and training division. He's got 1 letter of appreciation and 3 certificates of commendation. He has a course in the FBI LIDA Internal Affairs Investigation. He's a sexual assault investigator, a master taser instructor, health and wellness instructor, and he has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, qualifications, experience that you have that will make you successful in this role.
I was born and raised in the city of Holyoke. I went to school here. Greatly involved in the community. My local church was here. Like Captain said, worked hard on getting a criminal justice degree to advance my knowledge, education.
Sam, is the green light on?
It
Yep.
is.
Oh, okay.
I'll speak a little louder. Other than that, when it comes to qualifications, I'd like to take a humble approach. I don't think I'm any better than any other candidate that you'll be sitting here and speaking with. However, I do have a passion for the community and to do well in the department.
Excellent.
Okay, the second question, based on your experiences in your current position, what 3 improvements would you make? What would you do first and why?
I believe the proverbial one would be training. Training's always good. Number 2 would probably be I'll stick with increasing educational incentives. I believe an educated officer is a better officer, both for the community and the department. And number 3 would be work-life balance for our officers. We need to start getting resources for our officers. I believe that, or it's my opinion, that officers, or at least people forget that officers are people too. We need to get them resources so that they can become educated in financial issues. If they're going through a divorce, there's counseling available for them. So that would probably be my prime number 1 important improvement for the department.
What are the biggest challenges to policing currently, and how would you address them in your command?
I believe one of the biggest challenges for policing is that we tend to use outdated theories when it comes to community relations and proactive police measures. One that comes to mind is the community policing theory. Although it's been effective in the past in some cities, unless you implement it correctly or have the resources to implement such a program, they're often unsuccessful. It's in my opinion that we have one of the best universities and schools and colleges in the nation. We should be linking up with universities and colleges to create or to begin research so that we could implement and develop programs for better community relationships and crime-fighting efforts.
Thank you.
One of the top priorities of the mayor's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. How can you support this initiative with the police department?
These three factors are a main reason why I'm here. They're a main reason why a lot of us are here. So I support any initiative that increases or supports diversity, equality, inclusiveness. However, as a supervisor for an organization, it's important to remain and maintain some type of objective thought process, not to solely base your decisions because of somebody's race, gender identity, or ethnicity. So, however, I do support all these measures for DEI, was it? Yes.
Sorry. Another administrative priority the mayor has is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evaluations. If you were to take on this role, how would you evaluate individual officers in the department as a whole? Explain how you would go about creating a culture of accountability in the police department.
Evaluation should not be punitive in nature. We shouldn't do evaluations so that we could find faults. Although they're often used in this way and they are productive in kind of seeking deficiencies, we should be using evaluations so that we can look at opportunities. Look at somebody, at a candidate or a police officer, and see where us as supervisors could increase their ability to become better officers for themselves, for their family, and the community. So these are measures that I believe evaluations should focus on.
From your years of experience working at the Hoyok Police Department, what are some management workplace challenges? How would you go about overcoming or solving these challenges?
We're very paper and pen management style. But I believe in modernizing a lot of these systems. Some of the cost measures or the cost equivalencies for paper and pen and everything that's hard copy could be done by softwares that have been proven to be successful. So that's one of the challenges that I currently see in the department. Make it modern, make it more efficient for our officers to communicate with supervisors, communicate information through the department, and reduce waste, in my view, in my opinion, which is paper and pen and other materials.
Okay, sorry, I was just trying to write the last part. Describe the relationship that should exist between the lieutenant and those reporting to him or her. What experiences do you have in leading a team of people?
As you explained, I do have experience in many factors in the department. A lieutenant, I feel, is a kind of middleman. He hears from his patrolmen, he hears from his sergeants, and it should be his job to go up to the captains and the chief and address any issues that there are in the department. In theory, I think we're kind of like the wheel. We should be the wheel in the department to move things forward, to address things efficiently and quickly. So that's what I believe a lieutenant in a police department should be.
Tell me about a time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision.
A couple months ago, one of our officers, or several of our officers, responded to the Holy Lake Mall for a disturbance. They did a great job. They did absolutely a great job doing their job. However, one of the parties wanted charges filed and wanted to speak to a supervisor. So I responded there. I suggested to the officers to file charges. It was definitely an unpopular decision because the officers told me it was an unpopular decision. However, I felt that it was necessary. I believe that as officers, many times in our career, we try to make decisions or find what's right or what's wrong. However, in this situation, it was best that the incident was documented, charges were filed, and the incident would be taken to a proper venue, would be court, so that court could decide what's right and what's wrong. Again, the officers didn't do anything wrong. They did a very good job, and in other circumstances, maybe that would have been fine. But in this particular circumstance, my decision was an unpopular decision. I know it was. I'm actually happy that the officers expressed their kind of discontent in my decision, but I think that speaks volume with who I am, and that I know that officers can approach me at any time and tell me, hey, listen, Sam, I don't think this was best. But that opportunity for conversation to explain myself and say, listen, it's going to work out best in the long run was far more beneficial.
Thank you.
Describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
Teach it. I think we have a chain of command. We have to let everybody know what the chain of command is. I know how to bake a cake, but I still go to the box and look at the instructions and say, all right, I need 3 eggs. I need put this in the bowl. So as people come into the department and as they expand their careers in this department, we need to talk to them. We need to let them know on a consistent basis what the chain of command is, how you follow it, where to go, and if there's any deviations, what you should do in order to address any issues or problems.
How would you handle a situation where 2 members of the crew are in a disagreement over how to complete a task?
First, I'll bring each individual in. I'll speak to them, see what positive information they have, and then once I'm able to develop some information as to what they do agree with, bring them together and see if we could work something out so that we could maybe one may concede for something or the other one may change their thought process. However, it should never be left without settling. Some measures should be taken in order to address the disagreement for a positive outcome.
Describe the most rewarding experience of your career thus far.
Going back to school. Around my third or fourth year as a police officer, I found myself that I was somewhat discontent with where I was in life. I knew that I needed some type of education if I was going to get another rewarding job. However, getting my bachelor's degree did the opposite effect. It actually increased my interest in law enforcement, in the criminal justice system, and it's been extremely beneficial in my life. So I'm a big advocate for education.
Do you have anything else you want to share with us? We didn't go over, maybe something, a thought that might have came up or any other questions?
No. I do, but I think I'll keep quiet on that one. Or-
Floor is yours.
no, I'm all set. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your time, and thank you for interviewing me.
No, well, hey, the thanks is on our end. We appreciate, obviously you pursuing your career, choosing Holyoke, community you grew up in, which, it's all good things. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sam.
man.
You can tell Joe to come in if he's out there. Joe Wilson is next.
Joe Wilson. Hey. Welcome, Sergeant.
The seat.
That's the seat.
When you're ready to talk, just make sure the green light is on. Yeah, thank you.
We have Sergeant Copeland pursuing the role of the
This
position.
is Joe Wilson.
No, this is Joe Wilson. Copeland's next.
You know what's messing me up is this thing here. So I keep thinking this is the first
Yeah,
one, and the
yeah,
second one.
This is the tie between the three.
That's right, Sergeant Joseph Wilson, who's tied with another candidate.
And then there's a third one that's going to be interviewed in June. I mean, no, July 2nd.
A third tie.
Yeah, there's a three-way tie.
Three-way.
Joe, Troy, and
Another
Ortiz,
candidate. Okay. Excellent.
who couldn't make it today.
All right, no problem. Well, congratulations. We're going to ask you a series of questions here. And, certainly, as you know, the mayor is the appointing authority. I try to be as open and transparent. And what I appreciate about this format is the public gets to know the candidates. We are being recorded. I think people are zooming in. It'll be broadcasted on our local access channel. To my right, I have Kelly Curran, who's our personnel director. Captain Cruz. We do have a police relations advisory committee. Two of the members that are here, Kalana and former Captain Fletcher of the Holyoke Police Department. Before we dive in, any questions for us as far as the process is concerned? You know that it goes in the order of civil service list, but it sounds like we have a three-way tie we're going to break. And the process that we've used in the past when there's ties, I ask all the committee members to review the interviews, rate accordingly, and then I tally up and see the result from that. It keeps folks engaged. But no questions? Captain will introduce
Okay.
the candidate.
Right before us, we have Sergeant Joe Wilson. He came on in 2002. He's been a sergeant since 2021. He's currently on day shift, patrol supervisor. He's also in charge of the specials. He does all their training, scheduling, and anything that has to do with specials, he's in charge of that. He's got a letter of appreciation. Also, what stands out to me is he doesn't use sick time. 0 days, 0 days, 0 days. Like pretty much the last 4 years has been 0 days of sick time. That kind of stood out to me. He's a police traffic radar operator. He's certified in Incident Command System 700. He's got a bachelor's degree in sports management.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself, qualifications, experience you have that will make you successful in this career.
Well, as was just mentioned, I got hired here as a reserve officer in 2002. I was sworn in full-time in 2004. I have deep roots to the city of Holyoke. I still live in the city of Holyoke. My wife and I are raising our 2 children in the city of Holyoke. Prior to joining the police department, I went to the University of Massachusetts. I got a degree in sport management from their School of Management. What Captain Cruz missed is I also went to and got a master's degree in criminal justice from American International College. I then was hired in the police department. I spent 14 plus years on the 4 to 12 shift. I then made it to days, where I spent maybe another 3.5 years. I then got promoted to sergeant, and since being sergeant, I've worked on all 3 shifts, the dog watch, the 4 to 12, and days. So I think my education combined with my years of experience, my knowledge of the city, all those coupled together will help me be successful if I'm chosen to be a lieutenant going forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Joe, about your master's degree. They didn't put that in my notes,
important.
but he's got a master's degree in criminal justice. Joe, based on your experiences in your current position, what 3 improvements would you make? What would you do first and why?
3 improvements. I think, unfortunately, I think we have a morale issue at the police department, department-wide, that I think needs to be addressed and improved. Secondly, I think we could do a better job of using new technologies, bringing new technology into our department, and upgrading some of the systems that we use. I specifically would point to like how we do our scheduling. I think we've got kind of an antiquated system that causes frustration for both the supervisors and our patrolmen. So I think upgrading that would behoove us. And then lastly, probably most importantly, I think that I think one of the areas I think we could improve is improving our patrol division, prioritizing it more than it is today. And I think I kind of touched on that with the other 2, improving the equipment that our patrolmen are given, the resources they're given, and the opportunities they're given. Patrol, I'm sure you're aware, is the biggest part of our police department. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Those men and women are in uniform doing this job, and I think that sometimes that gets lost. And there's a big push in our department. There's a lot of competition to move elsewhere into other bureaus and other things within the department, and sometimes patrol becomes kind of a dumping ground, which is a shame because it's a wonderful place to work. So I think I would think that we could improve the experience for our patrolmen, which would probably almost immediately boost morale department-wide.
Excellent.
What are the biggest challenges to policing currently, and how would you address them in your command? Kind of answered some of the questions already, but go ahead.
Yeah, you gave some
Yeah.
good examples.
Yeah, I think those are the challenges we're facing. You know, I think policing is taking a hit nationally with a lot of incidents that have taken place. I have to say that I don't think we have quite the same adverse relationship with our citizens as they're experiencing in other places in the country. And my observations in the past 3 years being the supervisors, I'm actually kind of surprised at how few complaints we get about our officers on a daily basis, and I think that says something about the work that our men and women are doing.
Thank you.
One of the top priorities of the mayor's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. How can you support this initiative within the police department?
I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is all about making the organization welcoming for everybody, giving all of us in the organization a sense of belonging. As far as diversity, I think the city of Holyoke is extremely diverse. We all know that. It always has been. It's been a melting pot forever. I'm a product of that melting pot. And our police department has become, I think, particularly in the last maybe 10 years, reflective of our community. So I don't think diversity is as much of an issue. I think equity and inclusion, I think there's some issues there that can be addressed, should be addressed. I think one of the things we're experiencing department-wide is that we have we deal with a number of Spanish-speaking people in the city. And when I went to the 4 to 12 when I first got hired, upon reflecting about it today, I don't think we had a single female on our shift, and I think we had 2 Spanish-speaking officers in the entirety of the shift. So when I was in car 1 and car 3 regularly, we would have to make do, and I would have to use my limited Spanish, and the folks I was dealing with have to use their limited English, and we would get by, probably not the best fix, but as things have changed, we've hired a number of officers that speak Spanish. a lot of citizens are aware of that, and they're more comfortable speaking in their native tongue, so they're requesting and sometimes demanding Spanish-speaking officers. And as a result, a lot of our officers, I don't know that the division of work is being equitably dispersed because some of our officers speak Spanish. For instance, there was a night I worked recently that one officer in particular he had to go to 5 different calls, and none of them were in his area to translate. So I don't get called to 5 extra calls. He does. So I don't know how we do that. It's probably a contractual thing, but I know other cities are incentivizing people that bring second languages to their department, whether it's Spanish, or Polish, or French, whatever you speak. If it can help us, maybe there's some way we can incentivize that to make it worth their while bringing that skill set to us.
Another administrative priority the mayor has is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evaluations. If you were to take on this role, how would you evaluate individual officers and the department as a whole? Please explain how you would go about creating a culture of accountability in the police department.
Well, I think first, if we're going to evaluate our performances, we need to have set standards. You'd have to create a set of standards what we're looking for from the officer or the supervisor that we're evaluating. I think it's a wonderful idea to institute something like that. Prior to today, I don't think I've ever formally been evaluated in the 22 years I've been there. So I think it's probably a good thing. But I guess I would go back to we need to develop standards that we're looking for, and then the officers or supervisors, whoever you're evaluating, would need to be observed and then brought in, and those observations would need to be discussed. And then it should be a continual process.
From your years of experience working in the Holyoke Police Department, what are some management workplace challenges, and how would you go about overcoming or solving some of those challenges?
I think our biggest problem, and we're not alone, is staffing, manpower issues. In terms of addressing it, I think, obviously hiring more bodies, that's a challenge. I don't know that we've ever been full staff since I've been here. So it's not that we haven't been dealing with this for a long time. I think things have changed. I think we have a lot of young officers in the department now, and when I started, guys used to fight over overtime. They wanted to work, and we don't have that as much. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of these younger generations, a different work-life balance, and so things have changed, but the department hasn't changed. We still kind of try to manage it the same way. So I think if we looked outside the box and maybe we utilized other people in the building, sometimes you get assigned to a different assignment, you kind of retire your uniform in a sense, and maybe we need to start pulling from different bureaus and different divisions in times that we're not well staffed, so we're not constantly holding people.
Joe, describe the relationship that should exist between the lieutenant and those reporting to him or her. What experiences do you have in leading a team of people?
Well, I'd say that for the number of lieutenants that I've worked for in my career, I think the best of them had a really good balance between being approachable yet authoritative, and I think that's really important. I think the lieutenants need to rely on their sergeants to handle lower level issues that can be issued at that level, and then the bigger issues that come before the lieutenant, I think he needs to take the initiative to address those when they do. What was the second part, sir?
What experiences do you have in leading a team of people?
Well, within the department, the last 3 years I've been a supervisor, and we're kind of leading a team of people on the street daily. In addition, I was, as you mentioned, took over the task of being in charge of our special officers, which supplement our full-time police force, and I've been leading them for a period of time.
Sergeant, tell me about a time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision.
I think we make unpopular decisions, unfortunately, kind of frequently. Anytime you have parties in a disagreement, it's tough to make everyone happy. I don't know of any specific unpopular decision that I could think of that I've personally made that sticks out. I recently I didn't make the decision, but I advocated for and spearheaded a change in how our beat system is working. During COVID, we changed from, as you're aware, Captain, for years we were a 6-beat system. We had 5 area cars and a backup car, and it was a 2-man backup car. It has always been. During COVID, for obvious reasons, we separated that and we went with 2 backup cars. And as I got promoted and started going through, it became obvious that the second backup car was it was becoming desirable to some because they weren't getting quite the same workload. And so upon seeing that, I brought that to some people's attention, and we went back to the 2-man car, which I think has been extremely successful, but I think it was unpopular with a lot of the men and women that work for me. So I guess that would be my unpopular decision.
Well, thank you.
Describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
In order to have an effective chain of command, you need defined roles. Everyone needs to know what their role is, and then you need to define who reports to whom. And then the second part of that is, in order for the chain of command to be effective, the supervisors in the chain need to make sure that the chain of command is adhered to.
How would you handle a situation where 2 members of the crew are in disagreement over how to complete a task?
I think I would call both of them in and let them air their differences. I think anytime you have people that are that have any type of grievance, if you let them be heard, a lot of times it can rectify the situation. But in a situation like that, I would call them both in. I would hear their sides, what the gripe was, and then a decision would be made of how we're going to go forward, and then I would expect them to complete the task.
Describe the most rewarding experience of your career thus far.
I think my career has been rewarding in a lot of ways. I think probably the most rewarding part of it is now that I've been here for the number of years I've been here, and it's hard for me to believe, times that I get stopped and people thank me for little things that, not even necessarily that I did. I got stopped recently at a wake, and some folks were talking about some guys that work for me, that how they handled one of their family situations and how appreciative they were and how the guys did that. And I think that's a rewarding part of our job. We deal with people at their worst regularly. And so to have it recognized that we're trying our the best to solve difficult problems, I think that's rewarding.
Great. Anything else you want to share we didn't go over, or questions?
No, I don't think so.
20 plus years of experience, you got nothing else? No, I'm just kidding.
I know it's hard, and I've been reflecting.
It goes by fast, though, doesn't it?
Really hard to believe. I still feel like one of the new guys here. I'm not.
Well, thank you so much for your time, your service to our community, and wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you send the next guy in, Joe, please?
If he's out there, yeah.
That'll be Troy Copeland. He's the second tie.
Hey, welcome.
Hot seat.
Make yourself comfortable. So here we have Sergeant Troy Copeland pursuing the position of lieutenant. Sergeant, we're going to go around, we're going to ask you a series of questions. As you know, the mayor is the appointing authority. I'm a non-traditional mayor. I like transparency, so I've opened up. And so, although the appointments go in the order of civil service based on the result of the test, this process has certainly been beneficial. The community getting to know the candidates that are serving. I hear a lot about, how do we curve perception? How do we humanize our police department more and get to know it? This has certainly been a helpful piece of that. It is being broadcasted. I think people are watching online. It does get shared on our local media access channel, so folks can watch these interviews at home, and it's just a great opportunity for folks to get to know the folks that are taking on these leadership roles and serving our community. Interestingly enough, you're tie three-way. So this has happened before. The system that I kind of came up with, and I do have a police relations advisory team, two of whom are here, Kelana and former Captain Fletcher. I asked them to review the interviews and offer their comments and ratings accordingly, and it has been helpful to have a collective conversation on how questions are answered and make a decision from there. I do have our personnel director, Kelly Curran, Captain Cruz. Before we go in, any questions on process? You're comfortable? All right. Captain Cruz will introduce the candidate.
Yeah, right before us, we have Troy Copeland. He came on board as a reserve officer in 2002, appointed full-time police officer in 2004, promoted to sergeant in 2017. He's currently on the day shift patrol supervisor. In his record, he has 3 letters of appreciation, 2 certificates of commendation. He is a former HPD detective. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. What qualifications, experience do you have that will make you successful in this career? Is that on, by the way?
Maybe move it closer too,
And move
because
it closer.
the air conditioner's loud, so it's.
Okay.
I'm going to touch base a little bit on what the captain mentioned, and then I'll add a few of my own
Okay.
things that I feel is important. After I did graduate high school, I went to Holyoke Community College, received my degree there. From there, I went to Western New England University, also received a degree from there. Shortly after that, I was hired by the city of Holyoke as a reserve officer. I went to the Reserve Academy for about a year and a half. I served as a reserve officer, and then was hired full-time by the city and went to the full-time academy. Following the full-time academy, I went right to the overnight shift, midnight to 8, where I was an officer there for about 11 years. From there, I went to the 4 to 12, and during that time, the evening shift, I was promoted to a detective. As a detective, I was able to attend numerous classes and courses, some which were given by either the academy, specific departments like the FBI or the state police. Some of those included sexual assault investigator. I went to search warrant development courses, advanced fingerprinting, crime scene photography, interview and interrogation techniques, witness deception techniques. Basically, those were like the bread and butter of the detective work that I was doing. And then I was given the opportunity to do a little bit more advanced investigative work, which included death scene investigations. And I also went to Ithaca College for a week, where I was certified in cell phone data collection, as well as forensic computer data collection as well.
Nice.
After, while being a detective, I was promoted to sergeant, moved back to the overnight shift again. During that time, I was sort of a commanding officer, if you will. One of our lieutenants left abruptly So I was basically the lead person on the overnight, in charge of the shift. I spent about a year and a half on overnights and then was transferred to day shift, where I currently work now as a sergeant, 8 to 4. That's been altogether as a supervisor close to about 8 years total. And now currently, probably 2 out of my 4 work days, I'm the CO or the commanding officer for the shift on day shift, or whenever my lieutenant is off, I'm in charge.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Where were we? My turn, huh? Troy, based on your experiences in your current position, what 3 improvements would you make? What would you do first, and why?
I think a lot of the officers touched on recruitment. I think that's important. If we are able to hire the best candidates from the beginning, then we're able to get the best police officer, best product right from the get-go, all the way through their career. The second one I thought was positive social media engagement. I think with all of our younger people, almost everybody has their cell phone in their hand all the time, and they're very, very frequently, if not all their downtime, engaged in social media, some of the platforms. So I think if we're able to engage people that way, especially our young people, I think that would be very positive. And lastly, which I would rate as my number 1, would be to pique the interest in the police, either by citizen police academies. I know we've done with the juveniles academy recently, but maybe something for everybody else. Also engage the police more in some of the activities of the youth, whether it be basketball games or some type of a school program. And as a third part of that, maybe a citizen satisfaction survey. Just touch base with residents and see what their expectations of the police are and how we might better serve them. Thank you.
What are the biggest challenges in policing currently, and how would you address them in your command?
I think one of the biggest challenges in policing right now is a preconceived notion that people have of the police. In recent times, there's been some bad happenings in the world that have kind of given a black eye to law enforcement. So I think it would be very beneficial if the police could be seen in a more positive light. Maybe touching base on my previous answer with social media engagement, showing a lot of the positive things that the department can do for the citizens of the community. Thank you.
One of the top priorities of the mayor's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. How can you support this initiative within the police department?
So it's my opinion that diversity in the police department, I think the city as a whole and the police department on their own have done a fantastic job of that in recent years and over time. And equity, I think similarly, each person should be provided opportunity, whether it's for a promotion or it's for something they're dealing with in the community, police to a citizen. And inclusion, I feel like that the men and women of the Hoyok Police Department have done a fantastic job over time with that as well. And to coin a phrase, basically bias-free policing, when you're dealing with someone in the street, that everybody's treated equally under all the same circumstances.
Another administrative priority the mayor has is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evaluations. If you were to take on this role, how would you evaluate individual officers and the department as a whole? Please explain how you would go about creating a culture of accountability in the police department.
Thank you. I think performance evaluations could be a very beneficial tool. If they're able to evaluate someone's job based on several different criteria, I think if there are any shortcomings or any type of deficiencies, those can be addressed, and then their performance can be improved upon in those specific areas. So I think that's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From your years of experience working at the Holyoke Police Department, what are some management workplace challenges? How would you go about overcoming or solving these challenges?
So what I've seen over the years is like trying to improve on what we have, as far as technologies, equipment, things of that nature. It's gotten better now than it ever has. We went from, when I first started, to typewriters in the room and a few computers to all computers now. So it's been a little while, and the captain probably remembers those days as well. He's laughing. It's been a while, but we've come a long way. We've got a lot of technology, so I think one of the challenges is financially, in order to get the tools that we need. But we've definitely moved forward in that aspect. We've got rifles, we've got tasers, we've got, we're moving in those directions where the officers have more tools that they need. They have ballistic shields in the vehicles now. They're talking about less than lethal, rounds of ammunition for the officers as well. So I think that's it's definitely going in the right direction for sure.
Excellent.
Troy, describe the relationship that should exist between the lieutenant and those reporting to him or her. What experiences do you have in leading a team of people?
As I mentioned before, when our lieutenant left, I was kind of throwing the ship, so to speak. So I have a lot of experience leading a team, basically every shift, from the beginning of roll calls, giving them the information of the occurrences of the day before, to what's expected of them for any, maybe an event that's occurring or something in the city, and how we're going to handle that, and giving the officers the tools they need to accomplish whatever that task is for that day.
Tell me about the time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision. Sergeant.
There's basically an unpopular decision we have to make quite frequently as a supervisor, as you will know yourself, is sometimes when an officer's leaving at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there's a call, a fire or something major, a severe accident where the officers can't leave their post, and then there's other units that are not available to relieve them. So that's a common unpopular decision where you have to tell the officer, I'm sorry, but you need to stay, late today, and that may affect something in their personal life. So that's always unpopular, but they usually respond very well, and we deal with it as we have to. Thank you.
Describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
I think having an effective chain of command can be fairly basic. I don't think it has to be a really complex thing. You basically have expectations from the people, and they know what that is, and they have the expectations of the respect to where the information needs to go, either up or down, and how that is handled from there. Thank you.
How would you handle a situation where two members of the crew are in disagreement over how to complete a task?
So this has happened before. My approach to that usually is to separate the members, or in this case, they're police officers. So separate them and see what the disagreement is between the both of them, and try to come out with an amicable resolution that is agreeable to everybody that's affected by that decision.
Describe the most rewarding experience of your career thus far.
Oh boy. I've been here a long time, 20-something years. I've delivered babies. I've rescued people from fires.
Oh, wow.
I've been injured myself on the job from doing part of our job. But I think it's the simple stuff. There's a woman to this day that still sends me things around Christmas time that I helped many years ago. She remembers my name. She remembers what I did for her, probably on her worst day of her life. It was something small. You know, it's those little things. To me, that's the most rewarding.
Is there anything else you want to share with us we didn't go over? A thought that might have came to you? Want to?
No, thank you. I
All
think
right.
that's it.
That concludes that. I want to thank you so much for your,
you
obviously,
very much
the
for
years that you have been serving this community and continuing to pursue upward mobility here at the Holyoke Police Department. So
Thank you very much.
thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Hey, what's up, man? Come on in.
I know.
Welcome, welcome.
How is everybody?
Great, how are you?
Good.
Far so good.
It's almost the weekend.
I'm on vacation right now, so I'll talk.
Nice.
a little while.
So you're doing even better than us.
Thanks. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we've ever.
No, Kelly, nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
I always feel weird leaving my president who's a better police officer. You know?
Should just have.
It's a strange thing.
It's a good practice to have
Absolutely.
it
That's why I
current.
did it.
I'm sure Mrs. Dunn helped you. Your mom.
Absolutely,
You know,
of course.
Your mom was my
Math teacher, right?
a long, long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting old.
I feel you.
So we have in front of us Sergeant
James Dunn.
James Dunn. Yeah, there was an S missing. I was like, Jamie? No, James.
Amy is
Dunn.
fine.
Pursuing the open position of lieutenant for the Holyoke Police Department. You're very familiar with this process. You went through this process when you became sergeant.
Yes.
To my right, you've just met Personnel Director Kelly Curran.
Hello.
You know, the captain,
Hi, Cap.
Captain Cruz. We do have a police relations advisory team.
Hmm.
I think you've met some the last time.
Yes.
Kalana's one of them.
Hi.
And one of our newest members, former captain of the Holyoke Police Department, Captain Fletcher. You know the process. Any questions at all?
No questions?
Obviously, civil service takes precedent. You're not tied. He's not a tied candidate.
I'm behind the tie.
You're behind the tides. Behind the tide.
Yes.
No pun intended. So we'll ask you a series of questions and take it from there. So Captain Cruz is going to introduce the candidate.
Before us is James Dunn. He came to us as a reserve police officer in 2002. He became a full-time police officer in 2004 and was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2022. He currently works the midnight to 8 shift as a patrol supervisor. He has 2 letters of appreciation. His training education, he has an IACP leadership course, Alzheimer's and dementia trained to trainer, active shooter trained to trainer, and he has an associate's degree in criminal justice according to this.
Based on your experience in your current position, please tell us a little bit about yourself. What qualifications, experience do you have? Perhaps expanding on anything Captain Cruz shared or even sharing
Sure,
he didn't share.
I am very close to getting my associate's in criminal justice. I'll have it by the end of the year. I just started going back last semester, so I'm right back in it. In fact, I just finished a summer class yesterday. I've been a Holyoke resident my whole life, born and raised in the city of Holyoke. Went to school in Holyoke, went to college in Holyoke, or still going to college in Holyoke. My children go to school in Holyoke. In fact, they go to school in the dual language program here. I've been a police officer for 22-ish years. The bulk of that, probably 18 of those years, was on the 40 midnight shift. I got promoted to a sergeant just over 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago. And I've been in the overnight shift since then as a sergeant. I try to keep current. Like a lot of us, we try to do trainings to keep us current with everything going on in law enforcement, including leadership. I think leadership trainings are very important, and just trying to do my best to be a good leader is what I'd say.
Jamie, based on your experiences in your current position, what 3 improvements would you make? What would you do first and why?
3 improvements. I would start an FTO program.
You say FTO?
FTO is a field training officer program. I'll get into detail about that in just a second.
Thank you.
I would do an FTO program, a legitimate FTO program. I would try to collaborate with more community organizations, but very specifically Hoyoke Community College. And finally, and it would go hand in hand with the community colleges, try to do more for recruitment and retention. But the first and most important to me would be the field training program. I, like probably the last few people here that you interviewed, was a reserve police officer for a while, for almost 2 years. I think that was a huge benefit to the profession. When post came about, it did away with reserve police officers. I worked almost 40 hours a week as a police officer for nearly 2 years before I went to the police academy. I had a lot of my kinks worked out, like a lot of my mistakes were made and done before I even went to the police academy. In fact, I had a ton of experience going into the police academy. Now, we don't have that. You could be a bartender or a cashier or work in an office. You get thrown into a police academy and then you just have to be a police officer. And that's very difficult. It's a very different career than most other careers. It's, besides the public safety, the danger aspect of it, it's just a very different experience than a lot of other people will have. I think a field training program is probably the best way to try to prepare people for that. So once you graduate the academy, you get into this field training program and you're one-on-one with an experienced officer who you ride around with and evaluate you and help you. And I think it's probably the best way to bring our new people up to speed that don't have like the experiences that a lot of us had before we were reserves. Not only does it give you experience, but it gives you a taste for what this life is like being a police officer and the stresses that you deal with and all the things that go along with it.
Excellent.
What are the biggest challenges to policing currently, and how would you address them in your command?
What comes to mind is recruitment and retention is a big one. That's not just here, that's everywhere. Less people take the civil service test, less people want to be police officers, less people want to do this career for, I think, a lot of reasons. I think there's a public image problem with police, but it's very regimented. It's like I said before, it's a different kind of career than a lot of people are used to. And then once we do get good people, sometimes they want to go elsewhere. And there's always going to be some people who just maybe is not a good fit for the department, but I think we could, maybe do more to keep people here than have them go to other agencies like the state police or wherever it is they may want to go. I think another challenge to policing is officer morale. And actually, officer morale and staffing kind of go hand in hand. Staffing issues, I'm sure, are a problem for every police department. But having staffing issues creates officer morale problems. We have people who will work their 8 hours, then get told, sometimes with very little notice, that they need to work 8 more hours. And it kind of creates a weird cycle where we have these people who are held, and they either, they can either take overtime for pay or they can take comp time, which we call time owed, and then they want to use that time. And that time being used creates more staffing issues. And we currently have a generational change. Right now we have a lot of Gen Z employees coming on who have a different work-life balance. They are less interested in work and more interested in what they do outside of work, so they're more prone to taking more time off. And it's not something that we've really had to deal with in our industry. In the past, we have a lot of people who want to work as much as possible, make as much money as possible, that kind of thing. So it kind of presents a pretty significant challenge to us and how to deal with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the top priorities of the mayor's administration is to implement DEI strategies and best practices citywide. Please tell us what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you. How can you support this initiative within the police department?
So diversity or DEI, diversity, equity, they are about building trust and legitimacy in the community, but not just in the community, but also within our police department. These things help out our employees. We have employees with different backgrounds, different point of views, and different challenges. Like we could have someone who's a single parent, and they have very different challenges than me because I come, I'm married, and like I have more support. So being able to see other people and their challenges helps us help them, basically. And I think it also helps us treat everybody with dignity and respect, whether that's the people inside of our police department. If we can understand that there's different point of views and people have different challenges, then we can better deal with them, whether that be the people inside our department or the people in the street, like the citizens who we deal with on a day-to-day basis on our calls. And as far as implementing it, I believe the Hoyoke Police Department is actually very diverse. If you look at the makeup of our police department, it's changed a lot in maybe the last 5 or 10 years. I believe we're a very diverse police department. So I believe those things have already been implemented a lot. You're welcome.
Thank you. Another administrative priority the mayor has is to create a system of accountability and professional development, which includes implementing performance evaluations. If you were to take on this role, how would you evaluate individual officers in the department as a whole? Please explain how you would go about creating a culture of accountability in the police department.
So I'll say it again. The first thing I would do is get a real field training program that's based on like MPTC standards. I think that would help a lot with all the issues that we have with new police officers. I think getting that training and giving them someone who they can look to as like a role model, personally and professionally, is a really great way to build accountability. Also, we've never had anything like evaluations, personnel evaluations. I know it probably happens everywhere else, but like police departments, maybe fire departments, stuff like that. But I know from my wife who does this that a lot of places, what I would do is I would take, after someone graduates a field training program, and then maybe do something like every quarter, like a quarterly evaluation to see if there's any issues that we need to work on. So maybe 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. Get them and see where they're doing, not just punishment's not the word, but in order to help them achieve their goals, to help them become the best police officer they have, just to maybe give them a direct pathway into that. And then maybe after that, yearly, I don't know.
Good plan.
Thank you.
From your years of experience working in the Hoyoke Police Department, what are some management workplace challenges, and how would you go about solving these challenges?
So like I said before, I think staffing is a big one. I kind of spoke about that. I would also say bringing us into the 21st century as far as computers go. Like right now, we're coming up to a new software for all of our report writing and a lot of things. It's called Mark 43, I believe. Captain, is that right? Mark 43? Either way, it's a new program that will do all the things that we needed to do. But also when it comes to time off, when it comes to personnel, any personnel issue, and all of the, not just personnel issues. Anyway, we'll go with that. Those personnel issues, I think having all that stuff computerized, right now we do a ton of stuff on pen and paper, and I think pen and paper is just not the way to go. I think that it's very old-fashioned. We're like dinosaurs when it comes to that stuff.
Okay, Jamie, describe the relationship that should exist between the lieutenant and those reporting to him or her. What experience do you have in leading a team of people?
So I've been a supervisor for the last 2.5 years, and I've worked as a team with lieutenants and the other sergeants that I have, and I've been supervising and leading a group of police officers, so that's my experience thus far. I feel like before that, I was also a leader on my shift. But I think to create a good atmosphere between us, I think there needs to be open lines of communication. In our department, like in most police departments, we're a quasi-military organization, so our communication heads down and it heads up. I think that as a lieutenant, you're somewhere towards the middle of that, so what you need is you need to have your employees, which would be your, your police officers and your sergeants, able to come to you and talk to you and discuss whatever they need to discuss. But you also need to be able to pass that up the chain to the captains, or the chief, I would assume the captains at that point. And also be able to effectively take that information that comes to the top and disperse it amongst the people below you.
Tell me about a time when you were forced to make an unpopular decision.
Well, unfortunately, we have to make unpopular decisions a lot. I think recently it's when I've had to do, actually it was the first time I had to do discipline, when I had to discipline a police officer. I had never done that before, and it's never fun to discipline someone. It was hard to do, even though I think it was the right thing to do. And it helped grow me as a supervisor because it's something that I haven't done before, and it's an aspect of the job that is important. Yes.
Describe your approach to developing and maintaining an effective chain of command.
So I would say that that's similar to the previous question. I would try to keep open lines of communications between the people below me, and I would try to have good communication with the people who are above me. I want the people who I lead to be able to come to me and tell me things, whether that's personal issues or professional issues or things that are going on. I want them to be able to feel like they can trust me, and the same thing with the people above me. I want the people above me to feel like they can trust me to do the things that they're asking me to do. You're welcome.
How would you handle a situation where two members of the crew are in a disagreement over how to complete a task?
I think that there's many ways to do things. I think in law enforcement, very few things are black and white. I think we have a very interesting culture now of a lot of younger police officers who have different ways of doing things than maybe people who have been there before. I would always try to mediate. I would try to bring people together and sit down and discuss what was going on. And as long as it wasn't a problem, as long as what they were doing wasn't going to create bigger issues, speak with them, speak with people about it, and maybe try to decide the best course of action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Describe the most rewarding experience of your career thus far.
This career is actually very rewarding. A lot of people get bogged down in the things that we have to do. There's a lot of times where we have to do negative things, but I think there's a lot of positive things here. I think for me personally, it's seeing hard work pay off. I have a lot, like on the 4 to midnight shift and the overnight shift, we have a ton of new police officers. I think that any given night, sometimes the most experienced police officer can have like 2 or 3 years. And I know myself and some of the other supervisors, we're doing our best to try to help them, whether it's with report writing or decision making or doing all these things, but it's to see these employees grow and become confident police officers. I think that's super rewarding, is to help people like fulfill their potential as police officers.
Any other thing you want to share that maybe you didn't touch upon? You want to go back, a thought that might have reappeared?
Nothing comes to mind. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah,
Anything you want me to touch on?
That concludes that.
Okay.
Obviously, I want to much appreciate and thank you for your time and what you do for this community, and we're certainly appreciative to see upward mobility take place, because every candidate has said it is challenging currently in the profession, and it's always good to see folks still engaged, still interested, still with that necessary pride and energy we need to curve that and pursue that upward mobility and lead, and then, and so forth. So thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
It was great meeting you, James.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got it, man. Thank you. Take it easy, Jamie.
So how many, we have 6, I don't know, I think we can talk a little bit. We have 6 positions. Which are they? 3
We have 1
sergeant?
captain, 2 lieutenants, 3 sergeants.
So
But
3 sergeants,
that's what we have open.
right. So once these roles are filled, the
Right.
list continues. If any open position comes up,
Correct.
the next person in line that we interviewed, if they didn't get it this round, will get it.
Right.
But, so we have three, so that means each of these folks we interviewed today for sergeant become a sergeant.
Eventually, they will. Well, here's what's happening is, being the chief spoke, he wants to make promotions in July, sometime in July. The first one would be the captain, and then the 2 lieutenants and 1 sergeant, because of staffing issues. Then we will revisit in the fall for the other 2 positions,
Okay,
from this group.
got it.
It's staffing issues is what we're dealing with.
So right now, as it exists, there's actually 2 sergeants until the captain roles open up and we interview. That's when the shuffling happens.
Right, when we have to do some more shuffling and more
Right.
interviews.
But either way, the interviews that we did today, the
It's enough
list
to fulfill the captain.
as
the
positions
lieutenants.
become open. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that concludes the interviews for today. Thank you so much, everybody, and I think we can shut it down.